Oh, by the way, it's my birthday. Hello, everyone. Thanks for spending my birthday with me. I'm Shivan Sarna, and it is a pleasure to share this time with you. If you are looking for answers for your health, particularly your gut, your inflammation, your I don't know what's wrong with me, dear God, please help me, those, 3 o'clock in the morning type scenarios, or that haunting we all have every day of like, I wonder what's wrong. Do you think it's just that I'm getting older? These are the conversations I had with myself. I'll put it like that. I wonder if that's going to get better or worse. Do you think I need an MRI? Do you think I need a colonoscopy? This was me back and forth to me. And that's why I ended up having 3 colonoscopies like within a year, because I was begging my GI doctor, because I thought I had, what else could it have been in my previous brain? Maybe I had cancer, maybe I had a polyp. I didn't know. But there's so much more to it than those traditional, albeit life-saving tests. So I'm not slamming any of them. I'm pro doctor, I'm pro health, I'm pro you. And that's why I asked Evan Brand to come and join me today and to help us navigate some things we can do ourselves, not in place of a traditional doctor. They have their role, but Evan is what I call the third opinion guy. So after we've done all that, we turn to people like Evan Brand, but Evan is special. He has tons and tons of experience, and he has a course that I want to tell you about. He's going to be explaining it, that helps you to interpret your own tests and as well as make your own protocols. This has been very popular every time we've done it. He has a very special kind of holiday offer where you also get the Better Home course, because he's also a specialist in environmental chemical exposures that we all can suffer from in new or old construction. That's actually how I first met Evan, was seeing him on a podcast or something on YouTube ages ago about his new house and the materials they used. I was just fascinated. Additionally, his podcast has millions and millions of downloads, and he is one of the OG people who have been educating the public about functional health. It's a pleasure to have you here. Hi, my dear.
Hey, Siobhan, thanks so much
Oh,
for having
you're
me.
muted. I didn't, oh, no, I have my volume down. It's
How
good to
about
have
now?
you here.
Can you hear me now,
Yeah, I
Siobhan?
gotcha. I gotcha.
Cool. I'm doing really well, and I'm pumped for everyone to be here. This is a time of the year that I think, honestly, maybe I'm pessimistic, but I think this creates a lot of issues for people. Trauma around families that maybe are dysfunctional, issues with health and diet, and you feel like the crazy person because you're showing up to the party and you feel like you can't eat this and you can't eat that because you're going to have this reaction that's going to flare up this and that. And so I find, even though the old classic Christmas songs say this is the most wonderful time of the year, I feel that it is a challenging time of year. And I'm in the clinic when I'm not doing lectures, training doctors, working with lab companies. I'm in the clinic, in the trenches, working with primarily women around the world that are suffering from not only gut issues, but anxiety, depression, chronic fatigue, Hashimoto's, other autoimmune diseases, insomnia, low sex drive, no sex drive, you name it. And I've been able to take everything that I've learned clinically and distill it. And so my goal for today is to help you all have clarity on what you should be doing for the upcoming year, how you should be getting more clear, and what direction you should be going. Because at this time of the year, it's easy to feel pulled in 500 directions, and then you actually go nowhere but sit on your couch and scroll. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to feel motivated, inspired, and educated in a way that feels attainable for you. So if you're ready, let's jump in.
Let's do it. Okay, I'm going to hide my camera while you go for it.
All right.
All right.
So I titled this talk, How to Fix Your Gut for Good. And the truth is the gut is really where a lot of your other symptoms and chronic health issues are probably coming from. So when I say how to fix your gut for good, you may say, hey, actually, my digestion is better, but you still have anxiety, you still have depression, insomnia, other issues. So I want to teach you that there could be things underneath all of those other symptoms. And it's not a deficiency of anti-anxiety medication. It's not a deficiency of an antidepressant. There are real causes underneath all of that, which we can identify without you even leaving your house. So my credentials, I am a board certified holistic nutritionist, also a functional nutritional therapy practitioner. So I've had 2,000 plus, it's probably over 3,000 clients now in the last decade. One of the most sought out functional medicine providers, even people that have seen Mark Hyman and many others come to me afterwards because the more famous people get, the more cookie cutter their approach seems to get. And it really takes a detailed person to be able to pick apart your health issues and why. I've done hundreds of podcasts with a lot of people, and have had 20 something million downloads, and it's all free content. So if you like what you hear today, do you want to learn more? There it is. When I met the Mindshare group out in California almost a decade ago now, I met a lot of people that were already doing what I wanted to do. And this here is a picture of me and Emily Fletcher, a woman who is a great, great teacher. And she took everything she learned and put it into a video-based program where she was able to help 10 times the amount of people. And I was actually jealous at the time and inspired because I thought, oh my God, here I am hustling and grinding, saying the same things over and over again. When you've done this thousands of times, you can put all that into something that other people can learn from in a program format. And so that's what I've done. Part of my goal was really selfish, getting my grandfather off of his blood pressure medication. He's 80, coming up on 81 now. And I really wanted him to be around for a long time. And I didn't like the path I was seeing where he was going to be put on this medication, which caused this side effect, which would lead to that medication. There were gut symptoms, energy problems associated with all of this. And so I really had selfish intentions to get him well. And then obviously I'll teach you about what I've learned. When I bought that particular house, which luckily I sold, that house was way too big. Who needs 7 toilets? It's ridiculous. And the pond that you have to pay a maintenance crew to take care of. But in that home, I worked on so much renovations, and I worked on how to create a non-toxic home. And this crazy thing that I now call the home gut connection, which is how the microbiome of your home could be affecting your literal microbiome as well as your spouse and your children. And there's truthfully a connection between what is inside the home in terms of the materials used, as well as the toxins that could potentially be in your air, your water, your food, and how that impacts your gut. So I created a whole course that, Shivan convinced me I have to throw in as a bonus if someone enrolls in the gut program. So just a little bit of geeky science, and then I'll get more practical for you. But I want to just show you this, which is zearalenone. So this is a mycotoxin. This is something you breathe in when you're exposed to a water damaged building. So if you've had a plumbing leak, a roof leak, a bathroom toilet, and it was just dripping, 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 and eventually you found it. Well, in a water damaged building, it's very, very common to see a mold called zearalenone grow. Now, as you see in this study here, it's an estrogenic mycotoxin. So all of you women that have issues with your hormones, estrogen dominance, PMS, if you're perimenopausal or postmenopausal and you have hot flashes, vaginal dryness, pain during intercourse, low sex drive, no sex drive, you have a dead bedroom. There's a whole thread on the internet dedicated to, quote, dead bedrooms. It's kind of sad. But the reality is this could be related to this mycotoxin that you have in your body, which we can test for via urine, and we can create a protocol to get that out and excrete it from your body to then balance your hormones and fix your gut. So the mold that you've been exposed to in your life, whether this was in college, maybe you grew up and hanged out in your grandparents' farmhouse that was moldy, any mold exposure you've had over your lifetime is cumulative. If you're in a brand new construction house and you feel amazing in that house, great. It's probably not an issue, but places you've been previously, or maybe you are actually going through a current issue with mold, with water damage in your home. This is a massive factor for your gut health. Specifically, what happens is this. The mold exposure, these toxins that are airborne, decreases some of the most important bacteria in the entire microbiome, which is the lactobacillus and the bifidobacteria strains. Now, when these bacteria are too low, it decreases the production of what are called SCFA, that's short chain fatty acids. When that happens, your gut immunity is lessened, meaning, just like you see in the photo, your gut is permeable, AKA leaky gut. A friend of mine at the gym is a gastroenterologist, and I was talking about what I do, and I've been working so much on the gut lately. And when I brought up the term leaky gut, he got mad at me. He goes, if I hear that term leaky gut one more time, I'm going to lose it. And I'm like, okay, would you prefer me use the term intestinal permeability? He goes, yes. I'm like, okay, fine. So just for any doctors watching, leaky gut is what people listening, that's what they hear. That's the term they hear. Technically, this is intestinal permeability. What that means is undigested food particles, hello, food sensitivities, that is happening because the gut barrier is pulled apart by various bacteria and various toxins. Well, guess what? Here's the double whammy that happens to you. So you have this mold exposure, it increases your pathogenic bacteria. So let me just say it to you in a different way, make sure this is clear. The first thing breathing in these airborne toxins do reduces the good bacteria. Secondly, it increases the pathogenic bacteria that further create leaky gut. Now you have Hashimoto's, now you have Sjogren's, now you have rheumatoid arthritis, you name it. Any autoimmune condition is directly linked to this. And this is not a rare problem. I find this in literally 9 out of every 10 people that I test. We find some sort of issue with mold and or pathogenic bacteria. So I won't bore you with this, but this is a massive problem. The EPA estimates 50% of all residential buildings, 85% of commercial buildings have water damage. Genetically, there's a lot of people that have HLA-DR and about 8 other genes, genetic issues, genetic SNPs, like MTHFR is one of them. These genetic SNPs, they are slips, really. They're slips of your genetics, right? But these genetic issues, they make it harder for you to detox this crap. And so you're more susceptible. And if you have breast implant illness, which I just got done interviewing a guy named Dr. Whitfield who removes these implants, that also puts you at further risk of these gut problems. Anxiety, depression, suicide, autoimmune issues, as you know, this stuff, autism, it's all very, very up on the rise right now. I lost 30 pounds. I didn't know if I had cancer, like Shivan said. It was kind of a similar story, really. And I looked into the literature on this because I really wanted to understand, why did I develop weight loss, whereas mostly females, we see weight gain? Well, it turns out that the trichothecenes, okay, this is a group of toxins you can be exposed to in various buildings. Let's say you work in a building that had a roof leak, okay? So you're just sitting in the office watching this right now. Well, if you're breathing in trichothecenes, this can cause what are called anorexigenic or orexigenic hormones, meaning you can literally get fat not eating the Snickers bar, but by sitting at your desk, breathing in airborne toxins because of the gene expression. It turns on these genes that are pro-inflammatory and they increase interleukin 6, TNF alpha, and these conditions can be reversed by removing the toxins. So if you're someone who's dieted, you've tried every diet, you've tried every protocol, and you haven't gotten better, you cannot get your weight to budge, whether you're trying to gain weight and or muscle like I was, or you're trying to lose weight and or fat, this is a big piece of the puzzle. And I don't know why people aren't talking about it, but it's in the literature. Lucy, our Shih Tzu, rest in peace, we had to put her down about a year ago now. She developed tumors. This is in the literature. So if you or your loved one have had any form of cancer, this is also related. So zearalenone, that toxin we talked about earlier, it downregulates what are called tumor suppressor genes. So yes, you read that right. Tumor suppressor genes, meaning your genes have the ability to turn off and say, nope, we're not going to allow tumors to grow. However, when you get exposed to mold, your body goes, oh crap, we're sick, we're toxic, we can't do that anymore. Oops, you have a tumor. It's oversimplified, but I hope you get the gist. Autism, this is related as well. So if you or your loved one or your child or your grandchild or someone you know, if they are on the autism spectrum, which now is extremely common, used to be 1 in 10,000. Now it's 1 in 15, depending on what literature and what state you're measuring. So certain states with different vaccination rates, et cetera, they have different rates of autism, but it's in the literature now that ochratoxin, one of these things these poor kids are breathing in at the moldy daycare, that is also massively increasing the risk of spectrum behavior. Now you may say, Evan, well, what the heck does this have to do with the gut? Well, because a lot of these kids on the spectrum, they also have issues with the gut. And I have a hard time, but I was at church a couple of weeks ago and I saw this beautiful woman with this beautiful child, but the poor child had these armbands on. I'm like, oh, why does he have armbands? Like that can only mean one thing. Okay. So I step closer, I step closer, I step closer, and I take a look. And this poor kid, his skin is a disaster. His cheeks are red. He has psoriasis. and he's literally bandaged. I mean, he looks like he's a mummy. Okay. His hands are covered, his arms are covered. He's almost immobilized to where he can't scratch his face because he's scratching so bad that he's going to make himself bleed. And I had to go up to her and I'm like, hey, I can help with this. And it's probably related to diet and or gut issues. Can I help? Soon as church ends, she drives right over to my house. I open up my closet and I go, let me try this, this, and that because I've done this 1,000 times before and we're going to fix this kid. So I tried to look for her yesterday. We're recording on a Monday today. I tried to look for her yesterday. I didn't see her, but I'm very confident because I've done this hundreds of times with other children and adults. Any skin issue that you're having is likely related to your gut, which is likely related to a toxin. Okay. So that's the domino effect: toxin, gut, skin, mood, energy, etc. So signs and symptoms, you could literally have one or two or three of these and have a mold problem, or you could literally have all of these. So I'll be quiet and take a sip here. Well, I want you to read this. I want you to look at this and be honest with yourself. Let me know what on this list resonates with you, because these are just some of the signs and symptoms of mold toxicity, which could be affecting your gut, your mood, your sleep, your energy, etc.
I did not think I had mold exposure, and listen, not everyone does. I know that's hard to believe, but the way we're talking, but not everyone does. But I did, and was in total mold denial. I was in a moldy building for 24 years, and my friends are getting sick that still work there. Breast cancer is really prevalent at that one location. It's really, really stressful and upsetting. However, there are all kinds of other things, right? What are some other underlying causes, like parasites,
Yeah, let's hit it. Let's hit it. So,
etc.?
so a couple things. So, multiple chemical sensitivity. This is all related. Okay, so if you have gut issues, you have bacterial overgrowth, you have SIBO, which is a result of mold. What I've discovered, if you have fungal overgrowth, that's CFO. All of these things contribute to multiple chemical sensitivity. So if you're the person like me who just dies when your friend or your neighbor comes over with Tide and dryer sheets on them and you just want to kill them and strangle them and give them unscented detergent as a Christmas gift, that is related to this excess toxicity from gut bugs that are likely producing histamine. So your pregnancies could be affected. Your fertility could be affected from this as well. And candida thrives with mold as well. So if you have a gut problem, you probably have a component of that that is related to yeast. Candida albicans is the strain that we most find in the stool and in the urine. And so if you've had an exposure, you likely have candida that's affecting your gut as well. So if you've battled candida, if you've bought candida products, there's a million on the market right now, and some of them do pretty good, but they're not 100% of the root cause. This could be something that we can help with. So obviously, I'll throw just a quick mention to COVID and fungal diseases too, which is that since COVID's come around, we're seeing a lot more of these symptoms. It's really aggravated the immune system, and we're seeing a lot of long haul. I'm building a long haul course right now, so I won't say more about it, but we'll just say that if you've had this exposure or the injection, it could be affecting your gut because of the activation of the ACE2 receptor. That's a whole nother hour tangent I could get on, and I won't. In regards to the exposure to this stuff, so like foods, your nose, your skin, of course, your gut, you can be colonized, and we can measure that on the test. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute. Also, if your mother had mold and she passed it through breast milk or through the placenta, we've seen mold to be a multi-generational problem, which is why you, your dad, your granddad, or you, your mom, your grandma all have digestive problems. It could be related to this. Also, mental illness. If you think your mom's crazy and her mom was crazy, it could be related to this as well. We've seen it. Glutathione deficiency is huge. So we work on this a lot with people. I could bore you with really geeky details, but the truth is almost everyone is deficient in glutathione, which is affecting their ability to detox the mold, which is therefore worsening their gut health. So there's some geeky slides, and we can give a copy of the slides if you guys want to pick these apart and study it more. But for sake of time, we'll keep rolling. Your immune system is screwed up with all of this gut mold connection. And so if you've been developed or if you've been diagnosed, or maybe you suspect this and you've heard of this term before, but you don't know what it means, mast cell activation or histamine intolerance. It could be that you're sensitive to everything, foods, fragrances, etc. And that's something that we have to balance out. And we have a lot of nutrients, which you'll see on this slide, to fix that. But this is a root cause that's an umbrella. Okay. So in the umbrella of mast cell activation, you can have gut issues. Okay. So this is above the gut symptoms. Glucuronidation gets screwed up when you have bacterial overgrowth. So if you do have parasites, if you do have bacterial imbalances, which most people do that I test, this actually messes up a pathway in the body called glucuronidation. This is how you get rid of your excess estrogen, excess hormones, any kind of pharmaceutical or other drugs. This is how you get rid of mycotoxins, and this is how you get rid of carcinogens. So when Shivan says, hey, I have these friends that are in this sick building that are developing cancers, yeah, that's because they're likely going to have a gut problem related to the exposures. It screws up this pathway. They're now recirculating carcinogenic compounds. And you can measure this on the stool test. So one of the things that we really have to get done, and one of the things I teach in my program, is learning to read your stool test. Because if you can learn how to read this stuff, you can change your life and your family's life. So this is page 4 of a stool test that we want everyone watching to do on themselves as soon as you possibly can. And we can measure the issues with glucuronidation. And if it's high like this, we have to fix it so you don't get cancer or other issues. If your immune system is crazy like this, we have to calm that down so you don't develop or worsen autoimmune issues. If you have gluten antibodies like this, you have to get off gluten ASAP. And if you've already been off of it, then you're getting exposed if this is high, and we have to find the source of it. And this directly relates to the dysbiosis in your gut. So there's a lot of nutrients we use to detox this stuff. And I give you exact protocols on how much of this stuff, what kind of doses you need, because when you pull the toxins out, your gut bacteria will start to improve. Remember the connection, which is the toxin decreases good bacteria. So simply by eradicating the toxin, your good bacteria can start to grow, therefore giving you more energy, more mental focus. So, like I said, we can give you a copy of this because I know some of this is a little geeky, but here's the real thing you need to understand, which is that if the gut issue is at the top, we're seeing diarrhea. I mean, that was my story. Like when I was in college and business school, literally before I sat down in class, I had to look and figure out where's the bathroom. I mean, my IBS was so bad, it was embarrassing. My skin was terrible. Somehow, my wife, who we've been together almost 15 years, somehow my beautiful wife saw through all of my issues and my skin and my depression issues and my sleep problems and my gut issues. Somehow she saw past that and loved me through it and helped me get to the other side of it. But I find a lot of marriages and relationships fail when the other partner just thinks they're crazy or they need to just get put on some sort of anxiety medication. But I want you to understand that everything you're dealing with, this big constellation of your symptoms here, it could all be stemming from the gut driving this other stuff. So I'll be able to help you make a protocol. This is kind of how protocols look. So we may put together specific herbs to fix the gut, to support digestion, to remove toxins. And I have tons of protocols like this based on other people's test results. So you'll be able to look at your own test result and you'll be able to say, oh, hey, she looks like me and Evan did this to fix her. Great. I'm going to use that protocol. And I'll set realistic timelines and expectations for you. But in general, you could turn this thing around in just a few months. Here's a case study of a client named Megan, and she was in her mid 20s, massive issues with her gut and skin. You'll see a picture here of her in a second, but I know it's easy to get caught up in the vanity aspect of this, but I want you to understand that if we don't fix these things, then it turns into worse things. And I don't want you to have those worst things. So this was before and after a protocol with Megan, and she did really well in a short period of time. You're talking just a few months, maybe 6 months on the log end here. And this is a woman who suffered and tried every dermatologist in her town and couldn't fix her gut and or her skin. And now she is thriving. This is what functional medicine lab testing can do for you because you're actually figuring out what the heck it is, as opposed to just buying the next thing that you heard about on the podcast. The guy says, this probiotic's better because XYZ. This greens powder is so good because XYZ. That stuff's not root cause. So you know the conventional approach already to this stuff. It's gut drugs, it's mood drugs, it's thyroid drugs. It's not the way you want to approach it. We can do it naturally. The functional medicine approach is just far better, more effective, minimal to no side effects. Here was a 50-year-old guy. I feel like, okay, I don't relate to that girl. She's too young. Okay, well, here's a 50-year-old guy who he had a lot of issues with sugar cravings, and he would binge eat on healthy ice cream, and he was up to go pee every night, which used to be my story. I used to be up 4 or 5 times a night to go pee. When your kidneys are affected because you have mold and gut issues, you're going to be up to pee. Now I sleep through the night without peeing, knock on wood. On paper, which is a GI map. So we want to get this done for you. And if you've already had one in the past, well, we need to get a recent one because things change quickly. Even within 6 weeks, this could look totally different for you. So if you're having GI, mood, energy, joint, any kind of problems like that, then we should investigate this way. But in his case, he had issues with Helicobacter pylori, which is a really contagious bacteria. So if we run this test on you and you show positive, your spouse is going to have it too because it's incredibly contagious. So that means we're going to want to get both of you better. Anytime you see firmicutes elevated, you see down here at the bottom. So firmicutes are high. Think firmicutes fat, firmicutes fat. Okay. So if you do this and you see your firmicutes are elevated and you're overweight or even obese, well, that could be related to this microbiota imbalance, and we can fix that. And I have protocols to fix that. So in his case, he did have strep, which was a problem. He had some other autoimmune triggering bacteria like Prevotella, which was creeping up. And this can all be driven by mold. So he had parasites as well. This was a massive problem that was creating leaky gut. When we see secretory IgA low like this, we know that the gut is leaky, and that was likely driving a lot of his food sensitivities and gut symptoms. On organic acids testing, which is another thing I'll teach you how to read, because if you can read these, you can change your life. We found he had a candida problem, which is the arabinose. We found he had a bacterial overgrowth, which we already knew from the stool. So that just double confirmed it. This guy had massive brain issues too. So if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I had diarrhea this morning, it was terrible, now I'm depressed and grumpy. Okay, well, it could be related to the brain chemistry, and I'll teach you how to interpret these markers. I'll actually teach you a little bit right now, but this gets a little geeky because we have to specifically target what brain chemistry is messed up in you and how we're going to use amino acids in a proper ratio. Because you don't just want to go take a bunch of 5-HTP, you're going to mess up dopamine. So you have to do this in an intelligent way. And I have enough clinical experience to show you how to do it. But in his case, we can see that his dopamine was way too low. His endorphins were even lower. So this guy was incredibly emotionally sensitive. So ladies, I love you, but if you're the woman who your husband says one wrong thing and you're ready to just kill him, then it's probably an issue with hormones, toxicity, and/or neurotransmitters. And when we fix this, you're much more pleasant to be around. You'll probably like your husband. You may even want to cuddle with him right after this talk because I've boosted your serotonin so much by inspiring you. But the reality is, these brain chemistry problems are not rare, and it's a side effect of the gut issues because a lot of the gut microbiome helps regulate neurochemistry. So you need to learn this. You need to learn how to read this stuff. If you have mold like this guy, it's going to make you fat like it made him fat. And so we detox that, and he was able to finally lose weight and stop binging on healthy ice cream. It was like avocado ice cream, but it happened to have a ton of sugar. You ever get annoyed by that? Like you're looking at something healthy, you're studying the label, you're like, okay, good, 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 good. Okay, it's this, it's organic. Okay, it's gluten-free, perfect, dairy-free. All right, great. And then there's like 100 grams of sugar in the container. You're like, why? Like I might as well just eat an Oreo and just say screw all of it, right? So I do give you some advice and some diet protocols as well, because there are some nutritional strategies based on my board certification in holistic nutrition. I had to study nutrition until I was exhausted to hear about it, but there are some dietary tweaks that can enhance how quickly we get your gut better. And I do have food recommendations and then also like dietary protocols that you can look at that we've used. Petri dishes are something I teach you about. This is how we can test your environment to see if and what exposure you have. This is great for the skeptical husband that's like, honey, you're crazy. There's no mold in here. You can prove it and show him this ugly picture and say, okay, you're wrong, honey, but I still love you. Thomas, here's a 4-year-old because I want to tell you that I have experience with kids too. This was a kid that had a lot of gut problems and it turned into behavioral issues, a lot of defiance and just constantly sick, wasn't performing well in school. We ran a stool test on this guy and he had massive issues with E. coli. We had massive issues with autoimmune bacteria like Proteus and Prevotella, massive issues with mold colonization. So I'll teach you how do you break all this down. When you see all these H's, this is bad. This is terrible. He was 3 actually, poor guy, when he did this test. But if you see this, so if we get this run on you and you see this, you need to know how are you going to approach this in the correct way, because if you do this wrong, you can feel bad. And then if you feel bad, what are you going to do? You're going to give up and you're going to say that didn't work. It sucked. I had die off. I had a Herxheimer reaction. Well, if we do it smart, the right tools, the right time, the right dose, you can get through this and heal from this. Mold can show up in the urine just like this, and it does all the time. So we'll want to measure this. We made a protocol, which I won't bore you with now, but we fixed this kid and we did a lot of liquid stuff. So I have liquid protocols, but after a year, we totally fixed the kid. And the teachers were like, what did you do? And we retested him. And you can see for yourself, left and right, we fixed literally everything except a tiny bit of bacteria was still here. Hydroxyhippuric acid was high, but I can't be too hard on myself because this amount of progress in less than a year, you see here, April 26th to April 5th the following year, we pretty much fixed it all. So this is about what you should expect, how your lab should look over time. But then obviously it's more about the transformation. So if you're a woman that needs to lose 20, 30 pounds, you can do that. And you wouldn't see the weight loss on this paper. It's not going to magically show, hey, she lost weight. But when you fix these problems, if you need to lose weight and become healthier, you will. If you need to gain muscle, you will. If you need to feel less depressed, you will. So what I'm doing is I'm fixing the roadblocks to your symptoms. So if you have XYZ symptom, this is why. It's these red flags here that's going to show up on your urine. So what about your marriage? I mean, I love uh, being married. It's amazing, and I have 3 kids, and I love my kids, and I see a lot of marriages fail. And I was trying to actually talk to, here's another church story, but I was trying to talk to a guy yesterday because I liked his boots. I need some new boots. And I was like, hey, man, I love your boots. And we got on the subject of being out in the woods. And he said, man, I don't even know what leisure time is, or I don't even know like how to find time anymore. And you could just see the stress in his eyes, the kids, the wife, the health issues, et cetera, running a business. I mean, this guy was just burned out. And so I see so many families, so many marriages falling apart. And if they're sick, that makes it even worse. So really, this is how I see this whole thing go down with your marriage. Typically, it's the wife that suffers first because your hormones are different. You have less testosterone, and therefore you have less protection against this toxicity. So when you develop these gut symptoms, these mood symptoms, maybe you have skepticism. Maybe your spouse is amazing. Make sure you kiss them after this and tell them Evan said so. But maybe you end up seeking medical help and then it fails because you go on the merry-go-round of doctors and practitioners and they can't fix you. That's when they call me, is after they've been to every doctor, including Mayo Clinic, who let them down, or Cleveland Clinic, who let them down. Then they call me. Then the financial stress happens because maybe you're not working because you're too sick and symptomatic. And then your sex life's gone. So now your husband's mad at you. And then maybe it's divorce, or maybe you stick together, but it's an unhappy marriage, or maybe there's infertility, or maybe there's cancer, which is probably the worst manifestation of all this stuff. And this is totally all preventable and or fixable. So there's a geeky thing that I won't bore you with, but I wrote it out. So if you want the slides, you can get it. But the marriage can be saved. So if you feel like, okay, I've kind of lost that spark, I want that passion back, you can get the passion back by fixing this stuff. So here's the 2 options. You can keep going and you can guess more. You can listen to this today and go do some Cyber Monday shopping on Amazon and just think what Evan said was interesting and move on. Or you could say, okay, I'm actually ready and I want to get myself better and I want to follow a step-by-step system, a guy that's done this before, a guy that does this all day, every day. And that's an option that we're going to be able to offer you at a massive discount.
Evan, I just want to say that individual results will vary regarding the marriage.
I can't save all of them, but I've saved quite a few, Shivan. So I'm
Good for
confident here.
you.
Okay.
I love that you're so holistic and thinking about it in that way.
Well, and you know, I've had therapists that work with me. I've had psychologists and psychiatrists, and guess what? They're now implementing this testing into their practice. They're pushing them. Like one of my favorite clients is a psychiatrist. He's like, "Man, I need a stool test on all of these people because they're coming in saying blah blah blah, and then it turns out they have all these gut issues." And that's why they're so stressed because they're not working. And the husband's mad at the wife because she's not working, but she feels so damn bad. She can't. So now I push her to go get tested. And so that is how we can really make this world a better place. So what I teach you is this, okay? It's simple. We help you find your root causes. You follow an effective protocol that we've done 1,000 times to get results, and then you start feeling better. It's quite simple. You can go at your own pace. You can ask questions to my team. I have another functional medicine provider on staff that can also answer questions, and you can look at this stuff. So this is what it is. It's Better Belly. This is a flagship course that literally over, I think we're at 1,200 students now have taken this,
Oh, that's
and
great.
it's incredible. And so how it looks is I'll show you, but it's basically a step-by-step piece. So we're going to talk about SIBO. We go into candida, we go into parasites, we go into fatigue, anxiety, depression, kids issues, sleep issues, etc. And this is how the modules look. You ready for me to dive in on this?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So I'm going to teach you how does your digestive system actually work. I've got a mannequin in my closet that I should have got out, but I could have like broke open a stomach for you and showed you your intestines and how your transverse colon could get affected by all this and why your small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is so bad. But this is what you learn in module 1. Module 2, I teach you about the contributing factors to your issues, meaning if you have IBS, there's like 50 different things. It's like this giant spider web. I'm going to kind of break down what's driving all of this and then how do we test you for this stuff, because teaching is not enough. I have to show you. So we'll talk about what do we look at in your stool and then how do we make a protocol to fix it. This would apply to autoimmune gut issues as well. Candida, we go really geeky into candida and how even your beautiful golden doodle could be contributing to your candida problem. So if you have a pet that has problems with their health, that could literally be affecting the microbiome in the home, which is affecting you. So it's a little geeky, but we've worked with pharmacists to develop specific essential oils that work on treating pet fur. So that's pretty geeky. Acid and enzymes and how to do that if you're dealing with burping or bloating or gas or GERD or any sort of esophageal issue. I'll teach you how to restore normal function there. Charity was a woman who took my course and she gave a great testimonial. So thank you. SIBO, CFO, that's all in there. Specific case studies and then protocols. So if you're like, I've already tried SIBO this, SIBO that, I couldn't get better, you've probably not done what I'm going to show you. So that's there. Parasites, I had parasites. That's part of the reason I lost 25 pounds. So I have a lot of experience. I was the parasite guy for many, many years. I still am. I fix and get rid of parasites all day, every day in the clinic, but we'll teach you about that. And then what do you do if they show up on your testing? The testing's not included. So yes, that's an additional expense. You should expect to spend maybe 1,500 bucks US to get the functional medicine labs done. But cancer treatment is potentially $10,000 per treatment. Like it's the highest markup of any pharmaceutical, by the way. If you ever talk to a pharmaceutical rep, it's just robbery. I want to prevent by you spending 1/10 of what you're going to spend in the conventional medical system. When you get really, really, really sick, you can spend maybe 1/10 or 100th or 1,000th of that, a tiny fraction of that amount of money, and get this data. Okay. Because remember, if you don't test, you guess. So module 8, we go into specific protocol creation. How do we actually build a customized plan that's going to fix your specific issues? And if you have questions along the way, if you're like, my God, this is overwhelming, I can't imagine fixing myself, I'm here and you can contact me the whole time. So you get quizzes that are going to help you. You get handouts, you get templates, you get protocol sheets. And there's no expiration to this. This is not a subscription. This is just a one-time deal. You get all of it. You do get a certificate of completion. So if that boosts your ego a little bit and you feel more confident, if you're in clinical practice, or maybe you're a yoga instructor and you want to teach people about their gut, use that certification, frame it up on the wall. Here's Sarah. This was another testimony of a woman. She had a massive amount of pathogens, and she said it felt good to feel good again, have energy, and see through the test that her body is healing and repairing. So test, don't guess. Thank you, Sarah. Patricia, this was a lady who was going to get a functional medicine training, but then she instead just kind of veered off and took my course. And now she's very confident. She could design protocols with confidence. So here it is. Better Belly,
Yes.
$9.97, which is, hey, we didn't plan to do it on Cyber Monday, but here you go. So this is your Cyber Monday, and it's typically $14.97, and we have people buying that every week for $14.97. So technically, you're already saving $500 off, but we're actually going to throw in my Healthy Home, which is a deep dive into your home. I have an air purifier in the corner. I'm going to teach you why I love this air purifier, why you would want this one over the other Chinese one that gets marketed more. I'm going to teach you why this one over here in the corner is better. I'm going to teach you about the water, why you want to do water this way and not that way, because the other person said it was that way, but I've seen it clinically work better. So that's Healthy Home. So you actually are getting both, which is about a $2,000 value for $9.97. And then Shivan, you're throwing in something else too. What are you throwing in?
Yeah, I have a gut summit that is we behind the scenes call it the Ultimate Gut Summit, because it's a little bit of all of the gut summits that I've done, and it's $110 value. So we're throwing that in. Now, a couple of things. You don't get it, you have to send us the receipt for purchasing Evan's courses, and then we'll send you access to the Ultimate Gut Summit. And then also, once you sign up for Better Belly, then within a couple of days, right? Or how fast will they get Healthy Home? Because it's manual, it's not automatic.
Yeah,
my staff does that for us.
Yeah, my staff will handle it usually within 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah,
so,
it's fast.
A business day or two. So meaning you all could enroll in this today, and my staff is working right now hard. So you'd probably have access to both courses today. So you could just dive in right away.
Evan, a couple of questions. If people, you said, they'll have access to you or whatever, how does that work? Because I know it's not free form access, and I just want to adjust expectations. You're not going to be getting, a consult with Evan. It's educational. It is a consult, but he's not there. Does that make sense?
Sure. So I mean, I'm a young buck here that loves to overextend myself. So when students email and they send us questions, a lot of times just for free, I actually do send a voice message reply. Hey, got your email. Thanks so much for being a student. My idea would be to tweak this, do that. And that's at no charge. So a lot of times I'll do that. If I'm unable to record for some reason, I got a screaming kid behind me, then I will send you a brief email back. Hey, consider this, that, and the other. If you want hand holding, you want me to hold your hand and walk you through every single piece, you can schedule a paid consultation with me. But there is some hands-on where I will be there to ask and help, direct you in the right way. But truthfully, the majority of the students don't message me because I've given you so much. Yeah, they're just like, I didn't need you. So
I love you. I didn't need you. But that's what you want. You want to have this kind of independence and this kind of empowerment, but it's nice to know he's there if you really need him. Okay, a couple of questions. Are you familiar with Plexus? Helpful or unhelpful? Do you know what that product is?
I do. Any kind of multi-level marketing product, there's going to be massive margins built into it, meaning you're not getting necessarily the highest quality product at the lowest price. So for that reason, I have some conflict because the middleman, the next middleman's got to be able to make a buck on it. And so what you find is that some of those products are inflated, but the actual potency is not what you need. So I'm not opposed to it, but those are my general thoughts.
And which stool test do you like?
Well, so I talk about a few because a lot of clients actually bring stuff to us. And so maybe as a student, you've already had some data on hand. So I'm not going to bash or say, hey, this is the best and this is the worst. So I want you to look in the course and see, because some people bring this company, some people bring that, some argue that's the best. I actually have a few different cases with different ones, and you get different data from each company. So I go into more specifics, but I don't want to just, pick besties here.
Okay. And then, and how, let's say someone wants to do a stool test, they can go through your clinic to order. We have access to Rupa Health. I mean, there are a lot of ways you can do that now, right?
Oh yeah, it's easy to do, and we could get you a lab by the end of the week. So if you take advantage of
Cool.
this and you're like, okay, I'm
Ready to
ready,
go.
New Year's coming, I'm going to go ahead and like get my data. We can get this stuff mailed to you. You mail it back to the lab. Our staff would then facilitate emailing you the results. Boom, sit down, look at the course, look at your lab, make some magic happen.
How can strep be driven by mold? Not understanding the connection.
So the connection is mold weakens your immune system, allowing pathogenic bacteria to grow. So analogy is you're at the club and the back door is held open by the mold, and all these bad guys that want to tear the place up, strep, staph, pseudomonas, proteus, they all move in and tear up your gut further. So this is in the literature that mold increases pathogenic bacteria. It's if your defense shield on your spaceship is down, and now you can get hit with the penetration of the radiation in outer space. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with another analogy, but that's the deal.
Okay, thank you. Are taking probiotics beneficial for mold toxicity? There's more to it than that. It's not as simple as, like take a probiotic, it fixes your mold, but go ahead.
Yeah, you'll see in the course and the protocols, there's some times where you don't want to use probiotics. There's a right time and a right place for those. So it's not so much about probiotics, good or bad. It's really about the context of what's happening with your lab. So I really encourage you to figure out what's going on first, look at some of the cases and see when we want to use those, because sometimes they actually flare people up.
Okay. Yeah, it just really depends. And then as a national board certified health coach working with clients on gut health, are there any handouts in Better Belly that I would be able to use with my clients?
Yeah, the cool thing is we actually have some customizable templates. So you can take what we've already created and you could go slap your logo, your business, your branding, et cetera,
Wow.
on that. And you could basically kind of white label it as your own if you'd like.
Wow, that's generous. I have Hashimoto's and long COVID. Is there hope for me? Of course, there's hope.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, I am building a whole long COVID course, but truthfully, a lot of what you're going to learn there is similar to what you're learning here. You still have to fix mitochondria, gut bacterial issues, nutrient absorption problems, and that's what a lot of this is going to teach you here. So, if you're already suffering, you want to come out of the hole a little bit, I would take advantage of this.
So here's one more question. Here we go. What's your opinion on cool mist humidifiers? Hey, Beth.
I mean, maybe if you live in Nevada, like I did when I went to high school, and it's 6% humidity and you need a little extra juice, but overall, should not be necessary.
Okay. And also, I know we had one and it was very moldy. I'm just saying
Yeah.
they're notorious for harboring mold. Um, Evan, let's go full screen for a sec. And by the
Yeah.
way, the link for Better Belly is in the webinar chat. So that's Clarissa put it there. And then within 24, 48 hours, you'd get Better Home and we'll get you the Gut Summit. Um, you know, it's very empowering to have the results of tests but only if you know what to do with them, right? I have a lot of tests that I've taken over the years, and you get it at home and you're like, okay, good. And then you're like, wait a minute, what? It's tricky, right? But this is a course that absolutely helps you to know what to do next, or at least put you in the right direction. Everyone's results are going to vary. Evan is not your doctor. He is not a doctor. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying is you will be empowered with a lot of information without being overloaded, and that you can go to time and time again. And also, I should have mentioned this earlier, but Evan updates the course. And for those of you who have ever taken a course from me and Dr. Seebecker, we love that, because I certainly purchase courses that are now outdated, but they were what they were and now they're not. So the course is updated, and that is so very, very important. And I really appreciate that about you, Evan, as well as so many other things. How do you feel about juicing? Lisa wants to know.
Mm, not necessary to fix these issues we're talking about today.
It's Cyber Money. Any Monday. Are there any air purifiers we should seriously consider purchasing? I'll let you all handle that on your own. Um,
Yeah, email my office if you want, office@evanbrand.com. We'll let you know if we have anything. But truthfully, a lot of the professional, the best of the best, they don't necessarily discount as much. So the cheaper Chinese ones, they're the ones that are going to do more discounts because they're
yeah,
artificially inflated. So
yeah, I've noticed a lot of things all over the board today for the sales, but this is a big sale. We actually planned it because it was my birthday, not Cyber Monday, but it happens to be Cyber Monday. So that's cool too. And so it is a huge savings if you don't want to have the same results next year, if you want to feel better next year. Here we are going into it, coming in hot for the next set of holidays and next year, knowing that you're going to be empowered, I know is a much better feeling. And I wish that for you. So Evan, any other final thoughts?
well, thanks so much. I mean, the retention rate of this was high, like everyone stayed the entire time. So I try to be good at implementing real stories, motivation, clinical stuff, flex the clinical muscle a little bit. But I truthfully want to
Yeah,
let you know, like when I'm not doing stuff like this, I have 8 people that I have to talk to between now and the end of the day that are suffering with all of these issues. And I'm going to help guide them in a way that you can guide yourself right now. So
right.
if you're sick of being sick, you're sick of being tired, you're sick of being frustrated with the medical establishment, you've been put through the ringer, you haven't gotten the answers that you want, at a minimum, I'm going to blow your mind with the stuff that we can uncover about your own personal biochemistry, your neurotransmitters, your amino acid metabolism, your gut digestive health, your glucuronidation pathway. At a minimum, you're going to have a massive amount of data that you've never seen in your entire life. But more than that, you could potentially eradicate decades long toxicity, decades long imbalances that are leading to potentially fatal things like aflatoxin, which is one of the major toxins I teach you about. It's the number one driver of liver cancer. So
Mm.
this is a huge deal. And I don't want you to wait until you're in the ER or you've got the guy in the white coat giving you a scary diagnosis. If you feel like crap, you feel off now,
Now's the
please
time
fix
to,
this now.
yeah.
Like the rock bottom people that seek me out, it's a harder thing. Don't wait until you're worse, please. Just
Yeah.
take advantage of this thing. It's cheaper than the new iPhone. Come on.
Come on now. Diana was saying that she bloats. A lot of the things that are bloating you, Diana, are going to be resolved when you resolve your gut. And it's not necessarily, eat more fiber. That's like so bait and switchy of the American advertising world. Will this help your hernia? If you need to have surgery, this is not going to help your surgical situation, just like it's not going to help you, regrow a foot. Um, a hernia is a disruption there, but I'm sure, Evan, do you have some ideas to help soothe?
Well, it'll help you regrow some hair, some nails, some good skin, some libido,
There you
some
go.
energy. It's going to help you regrow some mojo. But will it fix a hernia? No. My wife had a hernia surgery. It was painful, but she recovered. I will say though, in terms of like the post recovery stuff, she could look at my gut recovery protocols because there are things that can be helpful post surgery. But no, I can't fix a hernia with an online program.
Yeah. Will these protocols work for those who are sensitive to everything? Supplements. I worry about taking any antimicrobials as they all make my autoimmune and gut issues flare. I tell you.
So there's autoimmune section in the course. You'll see autoimmune cases, probably people as sensitive, if not more sensitive than you. I'm a sensitive snowflake. I'm the canary in the coal mine. And so there's pros and cons to that as a practitioner. You want a practitioner, you want an educator, a functional medicine provider like me that is sensitive because I have that delicate art that's necessary to fix things without poking the beehive. So yes, I would say is the answer. But if you need hand holding, you could book a couple calls with me.
There you go. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. I do hope you're going to participate in this and take advantage of it. I know we have a lot to look forward to. Let's get there in the healthiest way possible. Thank you, Evan Brand.
Thank you, Shivan. Pleasure to be with you as always.
Always good to be with you too. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Okay. Bye, everyone. Clarissa, I'll meet you in our other Zoom. Mwah. Thanks.